Hey woodworkers, welcome back. So, in part of making this drawer front, I need to veneer or address these areas here. So, what I want to talk to you about is the process for that. I'm going to first get started with applying the adhesive, which might sound crazy, but this will make sense, and then I'll walk you through the rest of the process. Alright, so putting on a coat, thin coat, thick coat, kind of doesn't matter because the next step in this is to remove that adhesive we've just put on. So I'm going to soak this rag here and kind of scrape off or scrub off this stuff, which seems kind of crazy. Why put this on if I'm just going to take it back off? I'm going to try to get this as dry as I can so I'm not pulling off too much of this material. That looks better. Okay. So that's what it's supposed to look like. So what I'm doing here is in preparation of adhering or gluing to end grain. And in this environment, if you remember how this was built, all of this section here is 100% end grain. So I need to be cautious about that. It's probably not the end of the world if you don't do this step, only because I'm going to be adhering veneer onto this. So it's not like there's another thickness of material or length of material here, and we have any small level of torque or changing the angle on this. There's no pressure that's going to be applied once the veneer is on. But I just don't want to have any reason for this to fail. And so this is an easy thing to do. So, alright, so I'm going to do this. I need to let this wait for about 15 minutes or so. And what we've done is created a little bit of what's called sizing. So it's a diluted quantity of adhesive that's going to seal up the pores of the end grain so that when I do apply the adhesive to actually put the veneer on, it's not going to absorb any deeper inside that length of those little fibers or tubes of the pores of the wood. So that's what I'm doing here. While this is curing, let me talk to you about the rest of the stuff that I have available. One other footnote is that I don't want to get this glue fully dried. I still want to apply glue once this is kind of wet. Anyone who's ever worked with PVA glue before, which I assume is most of us, if the glue is fully dried, you're never going to get adhesion on top of that dried glue. So certainly not with more PVA glue. So I need to hit it with more glue at the appropriate time to make sure that I'm in good standing. Alright, so I've got little platens here for the ends of the wood, but based on the curvature here, it's not as though this is a straight board that I can just clamp from one end to the other. I need to create this flat surface to hold the veneer to, which is great, but I also need to come up with some other options for allowing those clamps to do their job. And so that introduces a couple of other cauls. So with these cauls, I'm going to clamp one right in the center, and then because I don't want to damage the interior face of this board, I want to clamp these boards kind of like so. It's great if you have little clamps to do this with. It just makes this work so much easier. Alright, so holding you into place. Same on this side. I want to space these out so that they're closer to the edges, so that when I do clamp across here, I'll have some space to get in between these. Alright, so once I've done that, I have veneer which has been cut. It's obviously over length, over width, and then I'm going to start applying the adhesive. The idea of which, for all of this stuff, is that I'm going to be able to use clamps to clamp from here from the center out to my right, and then I'll do another clamp on the opposite edge. So I'll be able to clamp these things down like so, and that's how we're going to do it. Yes, it is going to be as awkward as I think you're thinking it might, and you're probably thinking, well, there's got to be an easier way, and man, I wish that were true. If I were to use epoxy, I don't run into any of this problem. I could epoxy these things on, I could clamp it very much in the same way, but I'm still in that format or that system of using this clamping system for clamping this together. We've already talked about using spray adhesive to put down veneer, and I could absolutely apply contact adhesive here and then just stick on both sides, I should say, and then stick this onto the end at the appropriate time. There's not going to be any absorption. There's not going to be the same issues that we run into with a water-based glue. The problem with applying spray adhesive in this environment is I'm going to get it either on this surface or both as I'm spraying this down, and I just can't really afford overspray. And if I wanted to tape all of this off and then spray this thing like crazy so that the overspray wouldn't affect the veneer surfaces, I guess I could do that, but at this point, and it would probably work. At this point, I'm debating what is worth, or where is my time best spent. If I were to tape all of this stuff off and then spray it down, I could easily set up this clamping structure and use this the way that I'm going to. So to me, it's a bit of an easy choice, and this is how I'm going to approach this. Alright, so getting clamps ready. Cool. So it feels dry to the touch, so I think I'm ready. It hasn't quite been 15 minutes, but that's okay. As long as the glue is ready, then that means I'm ready. Alright, so I'm kind of backing off how much adhesive I have, and I just want to put down a slightly thinner coat than normal. This is not that. It's a little bit thicker than I would hope. Alright, that'll work. That's a better application. Okay. Pull a little bit of the U off. Alright, that's great. Alright, so now applying these things on. You have to forgive me, this is one of those times that working and talking are not possible for me. There are other real woodworkers that probably would have no problem with that, but you've drawn a short straw today. Stay there. Alright. Yes, perfect. Lovely. I recommend everybody revisit your limits for woodworking abilities by recording yourself and knowing that one person or no people will ever watch you, but the possibility of one person watching you in the highest pressure cooking situation for woodworking is always the glue up, I have felt. It's not talking to clients, not getting clients to pay. It's always the glue up. Alright, you are going better. Good. Alright, so overhang there. There, good. So it's not until I get this clamp and this clamp on at the same time that I could really start getting some good pressure. If I only apply one clamp, you kind of saw it just then, this little center caul starts to slip around a bit, and that becomes problematic, as you can imagine. Alright, oops, have to go a little lower. Alright, so this awkward mess is my glue up. You look pretty good, you look pretty good. I'm a little off-center there. Oops, that might be, there we go. Okay. Looks pretty good. Alright, normal rules apply with this. I'm going to wait for, I don't know, about a half an hour or so for this. I'm not really in any rush to get this thing off. But I want to start with the edges first and then apply veneer. This is the bottom. If you wanted to veneer the bottom or the top or both, I would do the edges first. The top especially, because this is a drawer front. If I'm opening that drawer, not so much a big deal with this specific species, but some species you can really tell where the end grain and the face grain stop and start. And so I want to do the edges first, trim those down, and then apply veneer to the top. So after this is dry, in the next video I'll talk about trimming this thing out and then applying something to the top. So, alright, about half an hour or so, and then I'll be back. See you then.